Initiating moisture.
Welcome to the Moist Meter. Today we're taking a look at Spider-Man Far From Home. It's another superhero movie, which means another couple thousand Redditors with their pretentious fart-smelling tendencies saying superhero fatigue is setting in, I swear to God, this time. Like fucking doomsday preppers holding up signs on the street. Superhero fatigue, it's coming! The end is nigh! But as long as the movies still get made as good as they are, it's probably not going to set in for quite a while. The only really bad superhero movie I can think of off the top of my head from the Marvel Universe is Ant-Man and the Wasp. That one gargled some filthy butthole, but aside from that, Marvel movies are just so goddamn well done, and Spider-Man Far From Home is no exception. It is extraordinary. I really liked it. In fact, it's probably one of my favorite ones, to be honest with you. I think the villain in this movie is second only to Thanos in the superhero villain world. I fucking love the villain, and it's not because he had like a relatable goal or goals that you really sympathized with or a character you really even cared about, but he was just so fucking cool, and Jake Gyllenhaal was so good as the character. I loved it. It was just really amazing. The visuals they were able to accompany with his character, the way they executed a lot of the scenes involving the character, everything about him was amazing, and the ending to this movie is extraordinary. It got me so goddamn excited. I can't talk about it because it is a spoiler, but the ending of this movie had me and the whole goddamn theater excited. And that doesn't really happen. I like superhero movies. I think they're fun, but I never get like all giddy, dick in hand, ready to ejaculate. But when the movie ends and you see, you sit through a little bit of the credits, you're rewarded with something fucking great that I think most people that are familiar with superheroes and shit can really appreciate. And I really just love the way they concluded it. The whole movie, though, was really good. The comedy lands per usual with most Marvel movies. It's really well executed in the comedy department. It tells a cute little story as well. Peter Parker, Tom Holland, he's just fucking great as Spider-Man. I really enjoy him. There's just no bad characters. There's really no bad moments in the movie. The only complaints I have are nitpicky ones about the story, because the story's, it's kind of silly. Like, a lot of the decisions from the characters don't make sense. A lot of the scenes don't make sense. The story doesn't flow all that well because a lot of it just doesn't make sense. You have to suspend your disbelief. You have the whole thing is about a field trip stretched over an adventure where a lot of bad shit's happening, and yet for some reason the adventure still continues despite if it being in the real world. You fucking an entire city getting destroyed. Travel would probably be shut down, and since it's a bunch of kids on a field trip, the parents would probably want the kids home. You just had a goddamn demon destroy a city, a literal act of God in manifestation of destruction destroy a city. Your parents are probably going to want you to call the vacation short, but yet it still continues over the course of a bunch of different locations. A lot of the decisions from the characters, again, that I can't touch on don't really make sense to me. There's this level of trust that was never established as to why some of these characters are so trusting of one another. It's hard to explain without getting into spoilers, and I do try and avoid them. But that's the biggest complaint I'd have, is just that the story is kind of nonsensical, and a lot of it's set up for jokes, I imagine, and because it kind of pokes fun at how ridiculous it is. There's a scene where Peter Parker gets on a train, and all of a sudden he's 3,000 miles away from where he started in the blink of an eye. And they use that for a conduit for jokes, and I guess that works too, but it's just kind of silly from a narrative perspective. And the only other issue I have with the movie is I really think Spider-Man was kind of lame in the first 2 or 3 fights. He didn't really do anything. He kind of just got his ass cheeks smacked on by the enemies. He didn't really impress me, and he has been impressive. Spider-Man is a really, really fun character to watch in the action scenes in all the previous movies. And it was really underwhelming in the beginning. He just kind of, tossed a pebble. He'd throw a little road sign at the monster. I mean, that's kind of underwhelming, you know what I mean? But at the end of the movie, he really pops the fuck off. The last fight scene with the main villain is really, really fun to watch. I enjoyed that a lot. Really, everything about the last 30 minutes of the movie, I was just giddy about. I really, really liked it a lot. The movie's definitely worth seeing. I think it's very fucking good. Plugging this shit into the Moist Meter, I'm giving Spider-Man Far From Home a nice 90%. I really like it. I know a lot of you kind of scoff at superhero movies, but they're just really well made. They're really well done. Comedy works in all of them. The action works in all of them. They have good stories. They keep setting themselves up for a really interesting story narrative perspective. It's hard to not like them. You can pretend you don't, but when you see one, it's always enjoyable. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. That's about it. So yeah.